there's really only one difference, one major difference between ourselves and ascended masters like Yeshua or Magdalene, Isis, etc. And this one difference is that the masters were in absolute certainty. They embodied a frequency. Knowing and certainty are a frequency, a bandwidth that we will eventually return to. They were certain that they were divine. And so in our human experience, let us be so gentle, compassionate, and kind to ourselves because we have chosen to be in experience where we are as separate from God as we can possibly be.
Welcome to Aphrodite Priestess Podcast, a sacred space to connect with the ancient wisdom of the divine feminine. My name is Eleni Soul. Through my body of work, I want to help you remember, embody, and honor your own divine essence. I am so excited that you're here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome everyone, welcome to Aphrodite Priestess Podcast. I am so excited to have here with us today Marin Bach Antonson. Marin is a personal inspiration of mine when I was starting my own path into the feminine, into the Rose Lineage, into priestesshood. She's a temple keeper, a rose priestess, and I'm happy to have her with me. Marin, welcome.
I'm so delighted to have had this invite to be with you and to connect with you. Thank you so very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And I wanted to share a little bit about how I received the calling to invite you. It was when I started opening up to the Rose Lineage and when I started receiving some information, remembering in my body, because we are all walking a path of remembrance, right? It's about remembering, reclaiming. And when I started opening up to the Venus path and then the Rose path also. And then I remember like watching your YouTubes back in the day and feeling very, very connected with you. And I said, I feel a calling for Marin to be here and to discuss this on this episode with us. And yeah, I wanted to start by if you will share a little bit your own path, your own story.
I'd be very happy to. Thank you so much for asking. My story has a very specific moment in my life that I remember so clearly. And it was a time in my life that I was in a place where I had just experienced a very significant trauma in my life. And oftentimes we can be brought to our knees when life comes in and gives us those tsunamis that just absolutely break us down. And what happened for me is that my younger brother passed away. He actually committed suicide. And it was such a profound, devastating experience, so unexpected for myself and my family, that it literally broke me apart. And the reason why I tell that part of the story now is because I found myself looking back, I found myself at a very specific coordinate that I like to share, because oftentimes if people are really in it, it's hard to embrace this. But I was broken at that point, but I remained open. And that was the exact energetic crossroad where the divine could come in and begin to redirect my life rather than my ego directing my life for me. And if you are in that moment right now where life is breaking you down and breaking you apart, I just say to you, I've been there. And to the best of your ability, to remain open and know that it is a place where Goddess can come and begin to touch you, move you, guide you if you are asking and if you're available for that. And so the divine took me to a space where I began to volunteer. I was very interested in sacred teachings at that point. Suddenly my heart blew open and I needed and wanted to be fed with God. I had a voracious appetite for learning from different spiritual teachers. And I had been volunteering at this place in New York City where I lived at the time called the New York Open Center. And as a thank you for our volunteering, we had a gift of a workshop that we could take at the end of the week. I could either choose a Feng Shui workshop or a autumn equinox ceremony. And I remember I really wanted to do both, but they were at the exact same time. One was upstairs, one was downstairs in the building. And I remember thinking, well, I like fall on the East Coast here in New York. I'm going to choose that autumn equinox ceremony. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what the word equinox meant, but I just went there and I didn't know what to expect. And when I arrived for the evening ceremony, I got there late and I walked into a room where the lights were low, women were sitting in a circle, there was a center altar, there
Mm,
were candles and flowers, roses all around. And I literally hit the door frame of that experience and my body froze. And I remember it so clearly that this energy went through my body. And I know looking back that that was the very moment that my priestess codes were activated again in this lifetime. And I literally was experiencing a remembrance of this energy that I knew: sisterhood, ceremonial space, sacredness. And it was something so deep in my cells, in my body, in my blood, in my being, that I knew that I knew. And I was so filled with energy moving through that ceremony. I literally went up to the woman afterwards and I practically grabbed her by the shoulders. I must have been pretty overwhelming to her because I said, I have to do what you do. And she
mm,
was very, very kind to me, and she took a liking to me. And we met after the ceremony and had tea, and she took me on as an apprentice. And I went through her mystery school, and that was the beginning of my path. And so, what a beautiful thing that we usher each other
mm,
into higher states of ourselves. I'm very, very blessed that it's what I get to do now in having a mystery school and being a soul midwife for other sisters to find their own um, remembrances.
mhm,
And that is how it all started for me.
mm. Beautiful. And we were talking about earlier about this certainty when you feel it in your body, when you're certain that Joshua or Buddha, they were certain about, there was no doubt in the divine energy that was flowing through them. Yeah, I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, because maybe other women, they they feel the same. They have this um bits and pieces coming back, but they're questioning, they're doubting. Yeah.
Yes, there was a moment in meditation that it was crystalline clear to me that there is only one difference between myself, someone like you, anybody on the planet. There's really only one difference, one major difference between ourselves and ascended masters like Yeshua or Magdalene, Isis, etc. And this one difference is that the masters were in absolute certainty. They embodied a frequency. Knowing and certainty are a frequency, a bandwidth that we will eventually return to. They were certain that they were divine. And so, in our human experience, let us be so gentle, compassionate, and kind to ourselves because we have chosen to be an experience where we are as separate from God as we can possibly be.
Mm,
And slowly but surely, like the petals of a rose that unfurl and unfold and open, the soul begins to have experiences and moments of resonance where we resonate deeply with something that is so clear in the depths of our heart that it surpasses the mind. We may not understand it, we just feel it. And those
mhm,
are the moments that when you have the courage to follow that inner knowing, those are the stepping stones that are
mhm,
guiding us home. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we do with that knowing, follow our passion. If a book is where our passion lies and we know we have to read the book. If closing our eyes is where our passion lies and listening to our own heart in order to download the information and then journal it, well, then do that for a while. If listening to certain people or teachers or guides on YouTube lights you up and makes you passionate, fantastic. Then allow that to guide you for a little while.
Mm.
There is no right or wrong way to the path, except that you are following that gentle
Yes.
light within the heart that brings you step by step, pedal by pedal, opening
Mm-hmm.
to that ultimate vibration, which I believe knowing is simultaneous with the Christos, with the Christ, with the
Mm.
luminous light within.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes. So powerful. And also for me, when I started opening up, when I started connecting with the goddess of Mayalam, with Aphrodite, with Venus, and I started connecting with that energy because it is divine energy. It doesn't, for me, I was invited into with that energy, but it can come to you in so many forms, in so many ways. And when I started connecting with the divine, and then the words the priestess came, and the connection, how can I bring that into my body? How can I be a vessel for all this beauty, all this information, all this, the the oneness? And then from there, I I started cultivating the relationship with the divine energy, with Venus, with Aphrodite, and then it brought me to the Rose lineage. It was just one after the other, and so I know you're working with the Rose, and is something that I would personally, and also I know my the listeners of the Aphrodite Priestess podcast are so keen because they're so interconnected and are so keen to learn more how to open up to receive the rose codes.
The first thing I would say is to understand that every person carries certain fifth dimensional archetypes in their soul blueprint. So, for
Mm,
someone like myself, and it sounds like for you as well, we carry the fifth dimensional archetype, which is an energy. Archetype is just an
mm,
energy field.
yes.
We carry the energy field and the archetype of the priestess. Other people may carry the archetype of the mystic, the archetype
Mm-hmm,
of the tantrika, the archetype of the teacher, the way shower, the goddess. And these archetypes are energies that literally the words carry a vibration that when we speak them, it's almost like we'll feel
mm,
them. You just
yes.
know. And even though you may not feel, like I know recently that I also carry, in addition to the priestess, I carry the archetype of the Magdalene. I carry the archetype of the
Mm,
mystic. Now, I'm not a full embodied mystic by any means, but I know that I carry that energy inside, and it is something that wants to blossom. And the more that I connect with it, the more that I embrace it, the more that I call it in, the more that I invite it, the more that I
mm,
practice holding the capacity of that energy in my body, the more I become it. Because there is no one, no one, no one, no one, no one that is coming to tell us who we get to be in this lifetime. That's a
mm,
reversal code. We all think that we need a teacher to sort of initiate us or a
yes.
path to initiate us, and that is just not the truth. It's a patriarchal reversal code. You
Mm,
feel your way into who you ultimately are. So that said, those of us that carry the energy of the archetypal rose, we are carrying, I believe, an imprint that is a very pristine and powerful divine imprint of the feminine God force, of the divine mother. We are here. Part of our work on this planet at this time is we are here to be the transmitters and the embodiment of divine mother's unconditional love. We live in a world that is so starved of divine mother. We're so dehydrated from that ultimate tenderness and gentleness and rest and being able to receive each other unconditionally with utter open-hearted
mm,
acceptance. I believe that every child that grows up into an adult, we all just long ultimately for one thing, and that is, please see me. Please love me for exactly who I am. And
Wow.
the true unconditional divine mother, that is what her essence is. She holds you exactly as you
Mm,
are. And for those of us that carry the archetypal rose, I believe we are here to be emissaries of the Divine Mother in all of her many aspects and to bring the Divine Mother back into consciousness at
mm,
this time on this planet. The other thing that I believe the rose is truly is a call to the inner Christ. And when I use the word
mm,
Christ, I want to be very mindful. I'm not using that word in any connection to institutional religion. I'm using it as the powerful key code that it is: Christ, crystal, crystalline, light, luminous. To
mhm,
be on a Christed path in this lifetime is to be so passionate about wanting and desiring and to be in full devotion to be embodiment of the
mm,
luminous. And we can call
mm.
that light workers, right?
Yes.
But for those of us that are so deeply passionate about it, I believe that we are having an experience where our souls are unfolding. And once we fully unfold and unfurl all of the veils within us, that is the state of the fully open rose. That is the state
Mm,
of the luminous Christ.
mhm. Wow. So you are suggesting that coming close to the rose and following, opening up to the codes is like coming closer to the Christ consciousness.
Specifically
Wow.
feminine Christ consciousness, and
Mm-hmm.
that the embodiment of the divine mother essence in her
Mm-hmm.
full form. Um, and I do believe that there is a lineage in place,
Mm,
and masters like Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Isis, Hathor. It seems that there's an irony that many, many, many women that are on the rose path seem to have a resonance with many of the same masters and goddesses, like
mm-hmm.
Aphrodite, like
Yes.
Isis. Even in her name, Isis, she showed me this at one point in meditation. She came with her golden staff and this sparkly headdress that looked like something like off planet. And she stood
Mm,
right before me and she
yeah.
took her name and she pulled her name apart and she showed me, Isis, it is. It is what it is.
Oh. Oof, oof, oof.
And to be in that 0 point of it is what it is, when you are in the essence of neutrality, that's the place where polarity collapses, where
Mm,
it's all one, where the
mm.
dark and the light
Yes.
are actually all one. And that is
Yes.
when we can get to the place of holding it is what it is, without
Mm,
judgment, without contracting. It is what it is. And that's
mm,
ultimately the place I think that I got where when my brother passed away, I just
mm.
was so in pain. There was nothing else to do because fighting it as if it shouldn't have happened, I just
Yeah.
had to believe it is what it is. And
Yes.
the irony in that, Eleni, is that I look back now at that moment in my life, and my brother's death actually was the pathway of my life. My brother
Mm,
passed, and I received more life. And
mm,
this is what I mean by sometimes the dark is the light and the light is the dark. And to have total conditioning that we have and to believe in the conditioning that certain things are bad and certain things are good, I think it's much more nuanced than
mm.
that.
Yes.
And Isis comes to invite us into that space of holding things as it is what it is, so that the gift
Mm,
in it can be revealed to us.
yes. So beautiful. So beautiful. You're sharing. I resonate with every single word you shared. Is it better to remember together? Is it better for women to come together instead of doing the work alone, each one of us alone?
I think that there's two beautiful pathways that intersect. The first is to understand that for most of us, all of us probably, we were conditioned unknowingly into our masculine nature. And that masculine nature is very mental, it's very analytical, it's very doing oriented. And many women come to this path trying to figure out what it is that they're supposed to be doing, what is their purpose, what is their mission, what is the ministry. They have this incredible impulse. They're on fire with wanting to serve and wanting to open the soul. And yet they're coming to it from a very masculine paradigm, which is, I need to figure this out. And I sit with many, many women as a priestess mentor who come to me and they say, well, my intention is I really want to figure out what my purpose is. And that's a red light to me. Okay, we've got to get them in the feminine paradigm. So one thing I'll even sort of model right here is there's something so incredibly simple for beginning to open into this paradigm. And that is, it's an actual physical body sensation. For most of us, we are always positioned in the front of our body in our electric nature, in our masculine, in our doing, always tracking the field. Where do I need to go next? What should I do? And if women, and if you want to even try this right now, if you just take a moment and just get into the back of your body, whether it be physically, with intention, with a visualization, you're going to notice, see, the back of your body is your feminine aspect. It's your magnetic quality. It's your receptive energy. It's very different in essence than your masculine nature. The very first thing that we can begin to practice is valuing the feminine, valuing the states of stillness and receptivity, because that is where the rose heart can unfold and things can be revealed from the deepest place of our inner knowing.
Yes.
Many women who are on the divine feminine path actually still don't value the feminine. They're still out there. They're still posting all the time, making reels, making videos, trying, doing. And this is the place that we must begin. We must bring ourselves into the new feminine paradigm, first and foremost. And then what you just said about togetherness, there is something so powerful about a collective consciousness and about immersing ourselves in a container with other women who are resonating. And one of the things that I have become very masterful at is getting women into heart coherence. If we can get ourselves into heart coherence, we are literally opening up a huge field for the divine to be able to reach us. So when we're in heart coherence with other women, well, even just a fun little tidbit is that when we sit or are in the presence of other women, we emit and create oxytocin, which is the love hormone. That's been proven. And that hormone begins to soften everything in our body. It helps to quiet our mind, regulate our system, open up those juicy places inside of us where we become like the open chalice. And then the divine can come in and can reach us. I'll tell you a quick, significant story. I very much am a devotee of Dr. Joe Dispenza and the work that he does, and I attend his retreats, and I can't speak highly enough about those experiences. And one of the things that at one of the retreats that I was at, Dr. Joe was talking about these galactic beings that often come in to the space and support many of the incredible healings that happen at those events. And he said, these galactic beings, they will never descend down into human consciousness. We have to be able to raise ourselves up in order for them to meet us. And that was a
Mm.
great metaphor for we have to raise up our frequency. We have to be very, very mindful
Mhm.
of tending to that inner vibration and those higher feminine frequencies. Because if we can raise up, that's when the purity of the messages from our higher self,
Mhm.
from the holy ascended masters, from the divine mother herself can come in and really
Yes.
make a powerful impression.
Yeah. Right now I'm talking to you and I'm still the back of my body. I got into that full receiving mode into my feminine and it feels different. But also when you shared about doing things because I've been with I sat with mentors that they told me, Eleni, you're very good with branding. You should do branding, you should do like business consulting. And it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. I said, I don't want to do more. I don't want to tell people to do more. And the little effort of going out of myself felt like huge. It felt huge. It felt not me, not my essence. I started resisting. And then when I stopped searching, when I stopped doing, when I sat with myself and I spent time with sisters, with women that were connecting from the heart, and then I was able to receive. Then I was able to receive the calling that was there for me for so long. I just wasn't able to fully embrace it. I wasn't able because I was always doing, searching for my purpose, hiring this coach. What do I do now? And then stop it, and just relax and enjoy. And then it it comes, but then it's the other struggle. Is the struggle of how do I get it out? How do I? And then is this paradigm of women talking about feminine energy and embodying the feminine energy, being the feminine coach, but it requires, of course, some doing of posting and getting the word out and building this. Which where do we balance all this? That is something that I would like to invite you to talk about right now because it's real, the unbalancing. And I know that sometimes one needs to be more present than the other in some moments in order to get some things done. But for me, I just close my eyes and I say, how can I stay? When I'm in the total bliss, and I say, how can I stay like this forever? Forever. It's just like I said it a couple of times recently, I just want to be like that forever. Like I don't want to do anything. But then okay, comes the time that I need to do. So how do we balance? How do we not lose our nature in the process of following our mission?
Mhm. This is such a good question and such an important topic. First of all, bless your heart for having the courage to not go down a path of following what was a good idea that might have been a pathway to financial resources and financial success, but rather having courage to follow your own feminine knowing
Mm,
and your authenticity. I think that is the scariest edge that many of us have to stand on in the beginning of our initiation. And if we can have the courage to truly follow our feminine authenticity and go into the unknown, things will begin to unfurl and unfold. Now,
yes.
I don't really talk a lot about this, but I do like to be an example and a light be a light being for other women. I do priestess work. I run a mystery school. I have a multiple six-figure business, and I don't work in a masculine way at all. Here's what I've
Mm,
learned. Our physical body is like a battery, and we have to master learning how to get a charge. Many of us get the
mm,
charge from the inorganic matrix. And what I mean by that is we get the charge by watching television, by going on social media, by eating foods that may not, and it does something to us in that moment. It gives us a little bit of energy, it gives us a little bit of like, oh, right? It feeds something in us. But we must master knowing how to plug our plug into the larger vibrational source energy and to charge up the battery from there. If you can give yourself a charge, then that energy is going to take you. How do you get the
Mm,
charge? You come into that sacred space and you replenish and you're resting, but then you're also very disciplined and devoted about building the charge inside of you. So, for example, one of the things that I absolutely do on a regular basis is I use the code of I am and I create a momentum. I create programs that I am literally putting into my human computer. And it might sound something like this: I am the force of the divine feminine. I am the feminine Christ. I am the
mm,
beloved creative energy and intelligence that is all life. I am alive and energetic and open and expansive.
mm.
I am feeding myself with this feminine life force energy that takes me to the next level, that
Woo!
brings the finances. And I can feel, and I do this when I walk,
I
I
feel
do
it.
this
I
when
feel
I,
it in my body
that's the
now. Like,
thing.
woo!
Yes, my love, that's the charge. There are many different ways that you can give yourself a charge. I use I am, I get out in nature. There's ions in nature that will literally charge
Mm,
your ions in your body, your molecules, your molecular structure, your atoms, your cells. I speak to my cells and I let any negative energy that is held in the cellular memory of my body, if unworthiness gets kicked up, I speak to that unworthiness and I say, no, lower data that is showing up as unworthiness, you are not welcome here. I thank you, I bless you,
mm.
but you are not welcome here. You are to come up from my lower chakras, bind with the energy of the Christ and the light within, and alchemize in my heart now, now, now. And so I am constantly cleaning up the places inside of me that would pull my energy down and leak my
Mm-hmm.
charge. And
Yes.
that is something that when, and something I teach, and it's something that when you can build that level of charge inside, then that it becomes passion. And
Mm-hmm.
passion is what is always going to bring you to the next doing. And you'll do it from a place that is alive. Because
Yes.
one of the things that we should understand is that if we're doing, let's say you're an entrepreneur, right? And you want to create a program. If you're doing that creation from a low energy state, then it literally vibrates at that low energy. You put it out
Mm.
on social media, you hope people are going to come, and it may have the greatest words and the greatest graphics, but it is resonating at a lower
Mm-hmm.
vibration. So I let people know, even though your mind's going to tell you, come on, you got to get going, you got to make the money, you got to wait until it truly comes from that impulsive aliveness within, where
Yes.
you're creating from passion and power. And if you put something out at that level, then it resonates at a higher vibration. I don't put anything out until I am certain that it is resonating at a high vibration. And I might go months without putting a newsletter out, which maybe not is great business practice, but for me, it's okay because I
Yeah.
have to wait until it's
Yes.
authentic and true. And so that would be my
Wow.
wisdom that I would share.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for sharing that. And also it comes back as I was hearing your words and I was feeling them also in my body. It comes back to the certainty and what we talked before, that I am, nobody can replace that phrase for you. I am is yours to claim, to put whatever you want next to it. And it's so powerful and it gives back the power that belongs to you. Yeah.
We have to get bigger than our doubt and fear. And waiting for
Mm,
other people to clear our doubt or our fear. Many of us are
yeah.
paying coaches and healers and all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. But there comes a point where you must realize it's your responsibility to build the
Mm-hmm.
charge that gets bigger than the doubt or the fear.
Yes. 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 I'm having multiple multiple yeses to everything. And
I love
yes,
it.
I know that since we were talking about the certainty and that Yeshua or Christos, we call it in Greek, Christos, um, I know that you also work with the feminine Christ consciousness. Did you find in the stories like a common thread?
Well, I can't necessarily say that there were outside sources that created these links. It was more an internal impulse and an internal light that would go off where I began to understand. And once I began to build this network of knowing inside of me, then more knowing would come.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I do believe, and certainly, I would say to people, take it with a grain of salt. Unless it resonates with you, then just leave it on the periphery. But I do believe that there were particular women in antiquity, these beings that we resonate with now, like Mother Mary, like Mary Magdalene, that were initiates in the mystery schools of Isis, uh, and went through initiations that helped them to overcome fear and to help them build them into different states of knowing. And they then are the beacons for us to follow, just like we are the beacons of light for other people to follow. It's like nutcracker dolls, where we're all just looking to energies that are a little bit more uh, uh, um, powerful than us, or more in their remembrance. And this is how the rose unfurls. So we get to a point on our human path where other humans potentially no longer have the same um, energy or the same excitement. There are teachers that I absolutely love, but I used to follow hundreds of teachers and I used to read hundreds of books, and it was amazing, and I had an
Yes.
appetite for so much. And then there comes a place where suddenly you're no longer looking at what other humans are saying, but you're looking to the holy ones. You're looking
Haha.
to the masters,
Mm-hmm.
and you are literally getting mentored by these higher dimensional beings. And I think that
Oh,
many of us are at that
so
place right
powerful.
now
Yes.
where that's happening for us.
Yes.
So Mary Magdalene has mentored me. Isis has mentored me. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where the knowing comes in, that the rose is a symbol of the highest frequency of love on the planet. The oil of the rose is actually the highest hertz frequency of any flower, of any oils on the planet. The rose
Mm-hmm.
vibrates higher than any other oil on the planet. So it tells us something about the rose and about how powerful she is
Mm-hmm.
and about what she beholds. And I was shown the rose is connected to the heart. The heart is the portal of oneness. The oneness is ultimately mother, father, but that many of us are holding the templates of oneness by being able to bring in the divine feminine at this time in
Mm-hmm.
order to balance the imbalanced masculine and the wounded feminine on the planet. So those network of connections were made in the depths of my own silence, from the sacred mentors that come to me on the multidimensional realms, and from other things that I've read that have resonated so deeply that they became clear in my knowing and in my
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes. Have you worked or have you felt somehow invited to work with Aphrodite, with Venus? For me, in the path of the Rose and Venus, that I found they were so interconnected, and that Rose, when I was changing the letters, it was becoming Rose. When you change it, it becomes Eros, which was the son of Aphrodite. And then all this information were coming in, and I said, I would love to discuss this with you. Yeah.
Yes, isn't that
Mm,
incredible that these
yes.
words behold codes, and when we're ready to
Mm-hmm.
see them, they show up. Um,
Yes.
100% eros, love, the rose, love, right? It's when our hearts are completely open and undefended, and we
Mm-hmm.
can be in the full beauty, the full
Mm-hmm.
suppleness of our inner feminine
Yes.
without worry that she is going to be co-opted by the masculine. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that Aphrodite is an incredible archetype of that energy, that open, unfiltered, flowing sensuality and softness and beauty and bliss in its most unfiltered form that is also power. We don't think of beauty as power because the wounded
Mm.
feminine
Oof.
thinks of beauty as power in terms of like getting attention from men. But
Yes.
when we are truly embodied in our beauty, then every cell of our body is singing with the divine feminine, with the love that she is, with the bliss and the radiance of the light
Mm.
is so
Mm.
beautiful. And I think that that's where Aphrodite can be such a profound template for helping us to heal some of the feminine wounding around our sensuality, our sexuality, our beauty,
Mm-hmm.
and how we have given ourselves to the paradigm of manipulating, using some of that to manipulate men and
Mm-hmm.
manipulate circumstances to get attention,
Mm.
validation, and that
Yeah.
which we want.
Mm. Mm. Well, I feel I can talk to you for hours, hours, hours. There's so much I want to discuss with you. There's so much I want to explore, so much more I want to explore. But I know that we've been on this discussion on some time now, so I want to ask you if there is anything else you would like to share, and then of course I will ask you to tell me something that is upcoming, something that women can attend. I will also put your links down the podcast episodes that women can find you. But yeah, is there something particular that came from the discussion that you would like to share with our listeners?
Sure. I guess as a parting invitation, I would invite everybody to get really clear in their heart about their highest timeline. When they think about and they feel into
Mm,
the, like we talked about Aphrodite, when life is literally bursting and you are in full ecstasy, and life in itself, living life is an orgasm, right? It's not just a physical orgasm, but it's an orgasm of bliss and ecstasy. What do you see yourself doing? How do you see yourself being?
mm, yes.
And the state of being that you see in that future timeline, become it now. Practice teaching your body how to hold that level of resonance now.
Mm-hmm,
I had to
mm-hmm,
hold the resonance of elation in my body for
mm.
a while before my body could really hold it for periods of time. I would practice elation. I would walk as elation. I would walk as
Oh, wow.
ecstasy. I would dance as elation. I would get it into my body. And once I began to really be able to hold that, I recognized that my body is an instrument of consciousness, that then when I'm in that emotional state, remember, emotion is magnetic, it's your feminine. You
Mm-hmm,
begin to pull experiences and circumstances to you that give you the opportunity to be elated, to be ecstatic, to be in bliss. And so we're reversed in our culture. We think we have to go out and get an
mm-hmm,
experience in order to feel ecstasy, in order to feel bliss.
mm-hmm.
And my invitation is come back into your own body temple. Get into the back of your body, get into that receptive space, learn about how powerful your inner feminine is, and get yourself into different states of vibrational emotion, because emotion is so powerful.
Mm.
And that is magnetic energy that's going to draw your highest timeline to you. You are a creator, you are unlimited, you are extraordinary, you are loved, and there are billions of beings all around us, supporting us at any given time. And to remember that, and to know that there's nothing wrong with doubt, with fear. We're in a human experience, and to just embrace our humanness as much as we seek our holiness. And
Wow.
to answer your question about what's upcoming, I happen to be on a year-long sacred sabbatical
Oh,
right now.
yes,
I
I
took the
remember you
time to
said
do the
that.
podcast because I resonated very
Wow,
much
wow,
with you
wow,
and your
wow. Thank
energy.
you.
Absolutely. But I am taking, again, this is coming from that place of just pure elation, of
Mm-hmm.
pure ecstasy, where I manifested this. I created this for
Yes,
myself. I'm traveling all around
yes.
the world with my beloved husband, and we are just experiencing life and the deliciousness of life and thriving,
Mm,
um, meeting people, etc. However, that said, there are many things on my website, which is priestessrising.com. I would recommend for anybody that resonated with this conversation, probably my Rose Path program is the one to immerse yourself in. It's there's 4 videos. You go through 4 rose gateways and work with 4 different goddess templates to bring you into more of your Christ consciousness field. The other thing that I'm so excited about that I do every year is I hold a vortex retreat in the Mount Shasta area in California where I live. And Mount Shasta is such a powerful vortex. I'm doing that in September, in the fall 2024 when I'm back, and would be delighted for anybody that felt resonant to join us in the Rose Temple.
mm,
It's a long weekend of deep feminine soul initiation.
mm. So beautiful, Marin. So beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with me, with us today. I felt every word, and also when you were speaking, I could feel your power in my body. It was just, was having the experience of the word in my body. Was just, I could feel um your roots, and also your your connection to the divine at the same time. It was just this woof, this powerful goddess energy. Thank you for bringing that today in this call, in this conversation. Yeah, we'll put the links down below. And for everyone listening, thank you for being here with us, and take good care. If this episode inspired or helped you in any way, please share it with your loved ones. You can also write your favorite quote from this episode on your Instagram story and tag us at Aphrodite Priestess and at Eleni Soul. This way, not only we connect with each other, but we also work together in spreading her story in history. It matters. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode. Much love.